The point was what? The point was that number two, the second instrumental youth was Attab ibn Usayd, the governor of Mecca. While the Muslims were out, a 21-year-old looked after Mecca. Number two. The third instrumental youth was whom? Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib was still in his 20s when Rasulullah made him the ambassador to Africa. The first Muslim to be born in Africa is Sayyidah Zainab's husband, Abdullah, the son of Ja'far. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, his son Abdullah, is the first Muslim to be born in Africa. Because Ja'far was married to Asma bint Umayr. Asma bint Umayr gave birth to Abdullah. Abdullah married Sayyidah Zainab later on. Therefore, the first Muslim to be born was under the ambassadorship of whom? Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. He was a young man in his 20s. Rasulullah said, I want you to be my ambassador to a priest in Africa. That priest will look after you better than the Arabs are. Go there and build the religion of Islam. Do you know this Ja'far ibn Abu Talib stayed in Africa for over 10 years. Until on the 7th year of Hijrah, he came back to Medina. He came back just after the Battle of Khaybar. And that's why just after the Battle of Khaybar, Rasulullah was returning from Khaybar, Ja'far was coming. Rasulullah looked at him and he said, I don't know which one to be more pleased with. The victory of Ali at Khaybar or the return from Abyssinia of Ja'far. Imagine. Yes, you found here number 3, the third youth who Rasulullah made as a building block for his religion, Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. Number 4, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal at the age of 21 converted to the religion of Islam. As soon as he converted, Rasulullah said, this is a man who deserves responsibility because of his maturity. He was known as one of the most handsome men in Arabia. And at the same time, he was known as coming from one of the greatest tribes, Banu Khazraj. At the age of 29, Rasulullah said to him, Oh Mu'adh, come near me. A 29-year-old. Mu'adh came. Rasulullah said, Mu'adh, I have a task for you. What is it? I want you to be the governor of Yemen. There were others who were saying, but we're older than him. Why is he going to be the governor? Why aren't we? It's not about age. It's about wisdom. This young man has wisdom beyond his years. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, Rasulullah looked at him, and the following conversation is the basis of the ijtihad of the mujtahids today. Because Mu'adh ibn Jabal, Rasulullah said to him, Oh Mu'adh, how will you judge the people of Yemen? He said to him, by the Quran. He then said to him, but if the ruling is not in the Quran, how will you judge? He said, by the sunnah of your actions. He said, if the ruling is not in the sunnah, how will you judge? He said, by my ijtihad from the principles of the Quran and the Sunnah. 29 years old. Says that I will use my reasoning, my ijtihad, to build from the Quran and the Sunnah. Rasulullah said, you are of the wise people, go and become governor of Yemen. And he stayed governor of Yemen until the time of Abu Bakr, until Ammar ibn al-Khattab expelled him towards Sham. And he died in Sham. Number 4. Number 5, the 5th building block of the religion of Islam in his youth was Usama ibn Zayd. Usama ibn Zayd was 18 years old on the time when Rasulullah wanted him to avenge the death of his father. Because his father Zayd, the adopted son of Rasulullah, was the leader of the army which went to Mu'tah in the hills of Jordan. He was the leader with Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. That's why those of you who've been to Jordan would have been on the ziyarah of Ja'far al-Tayyar. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib died in Jordan with Zayd, the father of Usama. Rasulullah wanted that death to be avenged. So he said, Usama, you will lead the army to avenge what happened when the Romans killed your father in Jordan. The reply that came was by certain companions, an 18-year-old. But had you not seen Rasulullah when he made Mus'ab ibn Umar an ambassador, when he made Attab ibn Usayd an ambassador, when he made Ja'far ibn Abu Talib an ambassador, when he made Mu'adh ibn Jabal an ambassador, weren't all of them in their youth? Yes. So why do you still think age is a criteria? Rasulullah said an 18-year-old will lead you because he's the best amongst you. Ask yourself in our communities, do we empower an 18-year-old or no? Honestly. No. How many of us have got inside of us a stubbornness where the ego doesn't allow us to build an 18-year-old's responsibility? Him, younger than me, telling me what to do? Whereas look at your Prophet making an 18-year-old lead a whole army. When the companions came and said, we will not go, Rasulullah was ill. He came out of his house in his illness and he said, La'na will go on those who do not join the army of Usama. La'na, which in English is a dua asking Allah to withdraw His mercy, not cursing. Cursing in Arabic is sab. It's a completely different thing. Our books of translations, they are all wrong when they say curse. There's nothing to do with cursing in la'na. La'na is a dua asking Allah to withdraw His mercy. La'na will go on those who do not join the army of Usama because they say he is too young. That's why it's ironic, as the poet says. They say it was his attribute to lead the prayer, but he shouldn't have been there. He should have been on the army of Usama. The more you say he was leading the prayer, the lower the position you are giving the man. And that's why you find here that Usama was the man who went to lead the army. When Rasulullah, her companions were not there, he became angry. Why? Because the whole religion was built on young men, yet you still had elders who were stubborn not to give the authority. That's why when Abu Bakr became Khalifa, he removed Usama and made Yazid ibn Abu Sufyan, the uncle of Yazid, he made him become the ruler of that army. Usama went into the mosque, he said, "Oh people, Rasulullah made me the commander of that army. Now I want everybody to witness that the first Khalifa has taken rulership away from us." That was the fifth, and the sixth was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib, many times in his youth, Rasulullah gave him positions of authority. And that's why in his youth he displayed all of these responsibilities, which were the criteria for him being the successor of Rasulullah. Number one, Ali ibn Abi Talib at the age of 23, the Quran revealed a verse about the way he slept on the night of Hijrah in the bed of Rasulullah. That there are those, Surah 2, verse 207, there are those who sell their soul for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was revealed about Amir al-Mu'mineen on the night of Hijrah, when he sold his soul for the pleasure of Allah in sleeping on behalf of Rasulullah. Ali ibn Abi Talib, at the age of what? At the age of 29, on the day of Khandaq, Rasulullah himself called out and said, the whole of Iman fights the whole of Kufr. In other words, the 29-year-old, Allah and His Prophet has described him as being the whole of Iman. Ali ibn Abi Talib at the age of 29 was the first man to write a political treaty for Rasulullah when he wrote the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Politically, Rasulullah was grooming a 29-year-old to know the political scene, to know how to deal with people on political affairs, to be able to establish relations with people on a political level. 29? And that's why we find that in those final moments of the life of Rasulullah, when he announced to the people that after me, man kuntu mawla, fahada aliyun mawla, the people came forward after Rasulullah died and said that Ali ibn Abi Talib is too young to succeed Rasulullah. All of those decisions of Rasulullah for all those young men were completely forgotten. And now age became a criteria. And that's why Rasulullah, when he was dying, recognized there were people who were not taking the authority of Ali ibn Abi Talib. It brought him an extreme amount of pain. When it brought him this extreme amount of pain, the narrations say that even when he asked for a pen and paper, the reply was, "You are delirious, the Quran is enough for us."